Up with KREM begins now.
Governor Jay Inslee signed a dozen new police reform measures into law.
Many of these tactics have been used, unfortunately, that led to great tragedies and disproportionately against people of color.
We're breaking down the changes to police tactics happening in our state.
Plus, a new report has finally determined the cause of the devastating fire that decimated the towns of Malden and Pine City.
I guess I'm glad to know that it wasn't a person behind it.
Why the report says it wasn't human caused, but still could have been prevented.
And we're taking you outside as clouds filter into the inland northwest. I'll let you know what those mean for our chances of rain.
Well, May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, so here's a look at the countries that are considered Asian American and Pacific Islander.
So there's a total of 48 Asian countries, which includes China, India, Russia, the Philippines, Iran, and many more. Also included in this month's Heritage Celebration are the regions of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia, all of which are subregions of Oceania. Well, good morning. Thanks for being with us. 7:31 on a Wednesday morning. A little bit colder this morning, guys.
Oh, no doubt about it. It was downright chilly early on this morning. Now, thankfully, things have changed a lot since you guys have last been outside, and it's warm. It's warm enough that I think a lot of the sensitive plants around the inland northwest kind of dodged a bullet here. We had a freeze warning in place that was very widespread, but as clouds continue to filter in, we're watching those temperatures jump. So you probably got a couple of notifications on your phone saying, hey, it's going to get cold tonight. Many locations did. Few areas, including Deer Park, fell down into the 20s overnight. You're down in the upper 30s. And that's as we start to see cloud cover and moisture start to move in. And this is all associated with the storm that's going to kind of hit us a few times in the coming days. And that all starts today with cloud cover and some scattered kind of lighter showers tomorrow. There is a chance we see some heavy rain here in the inland northwest. And when I say that, it's hard to say it without a smile, because we need it. We desperately need the moisture. Today, not the greatest chance. I think what we wind up seeing is mostly cloudy skies, temperature climbing up to near 60 this afternoon, maybe a couple of peaks of sun, maybe a couple of light sprinkles, and that's really about the extent of it. Tomorrow is when that real moisture arrives. And coming up in your full forecast, I'll let you know when it does and how much you might see.
We finally know what caused the devastating fire that decimated the towns of Malden and Pine City.
That's right. A new report from the Department of Natural Resources found a fire was sparked when a tree branch hit an Avista power line.
Now, the report shows high winds on Labor Day made the Ponderosa pine tree branch fall. And the report also found that specific tree showed several signs of stress from before and after the fire, including insect infestation. A DNR forest pathologist says the tree had clear signs of previous decay.
Now, the tree in question was flagged off with a yellow ribbon, but investigators couldn't find who put it there. One former Malden resident who lost their home in the fire shared her reaction with us this morning.
I guess I'm glad to know that it wasn't a person behind it, because like the first thing we heard was it was like a farmer in his field started the fire, and that was really upsetting to think, just like a poor decision to be going about your job on like such a windy day with such bad weather conditions, that could like lead to so much like destruction and suffering. So something like a tree branch almost, I don't know, seems more like, who can you really blame for that?
DNR investigators requested line data from Avista Utility. They have not heard back as of the submission of that report, which was in late April. Now, that's about 5 months with no word from Avista.
Avista did give us a statement on the report saying, quote, "We are in the process of analyzing the findings contained in the DNR report. To date, Avista has not found any evidence and does not believe that the fires were caused by any deficiencies in its equipment, maintenance, or activities of vegetation management." We'll be sure to bring you more about this report as it develops. All year round, firefighters are thinking about wildfire season. Programs do run year round to help prevent the spread of those flames. So we have Nicole Hernandez. She learned how the pandemic affected those prevention efforts.
With people home more this past year, one way some landowners filled their extra time was by doing wildfire prevention.
Fire hazard abatement was actually identified by the governor as an essential function.
Since it's all outside, Washington State's Department of Natural Resources Landowners Program continued through the pandemic.
And in fact, we came very close to meeting our targets, which are very aggressive targets.
DNR workers come out to help landowners remove small trees like these ones. They also help them prune up their bigger trees so that fires can't climb them as much. And then they also help them remove slash, the stuff on the ground that burns really easily.
When the fuels are overgrown, especially around infrastructure and people's homes where people reside, then that puts lives at risk and property at risk.
DNR can't completely stop wildfires, though. When it comes to actually being on the fire line when a wildfire hits, their normal rules are pretty COVID safe already. Firefighters line up at least 10 feet apart, but there were some changes last year.
The biggest challenge for us is transportation. That's where we had to take extra precautions and make sure we were masked up and wipe down the surfaces.
They had to do the same thing in the camp areas where fire teams stay overnight.
We saw a dramatic reduction in the amount of camp crud, what we call camp crud, which is where people get sick in fire camps.
Of course, healthy firefighters helps with productivity on the fire line. So the plan is to actually keep some of those changes going even after the pandemic. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Well, Governor Jay Inslee signed a dozen new police reform measures into law Tuesday morning, and here are 3 things you need to know. Up first, House Bill 1267 establishes a statewide ban on chokeholds and neck restraints. The governor's website credits the killing of George Floyd for bringing newfound attention to use of force tactics employed by law enforcement officers.
And here's why this legislation is necessary. Many of these tactics have been used, unfortunately, that led to great tragedies and disproportionately against people of color.
The bill also restricts vehicular pursuits and limits the use of tear gas. 9 additional police accountability bills were signed related to topics like a peace officer's duty to intervene, data collection within law enforcement, and juvenile access to an attorney when contacted by law enforcement. Second, Senate Bill 5051 aims at increasing oversight and accountability requirements when it comes to state law enforcement and correction officers. The bill changes certification and background check requirements for those police officers. It also requires more thorough internal reviews if there is misconduct by an officer, and also requires more consistent reporting of incidents by law enforcement agencies. Under this new legislation, the public can now see the results of internal investigations and know if an officer has been held accountable. And third, officers must now report their colleagues who use excessive force. The governor signed legislation that creates an Office of Independent Investigations of Police Use and Excessive Force. That office will report to the governor. The Spokane Police Department already has a duty to intervene policy that requires officers to report any wrongdoing by colleagues to their supervisor. Well, coming up tonight, the Kendall Yards Night Market will be in full swing. So after the break, we're speaking with the owner of John Doe Cookie Dough. She's going to tell us exactly what you can get tonight. All amazing, yummy foods. We just can't wait.
And another local favorite will be in Kendall Yards tonight. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we are talking to Big Daddy's Banh Mi's about what they're serving up tonight.
If you want the weather for tonight, I think it's going to be near 60 with mostly cloudy skies. A perfect night to get out and do some eating.
And since May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we definitely want to highlight the people of AAPI descent who have made history.
Absolutely. In 2010, Rich Cho became the first Asian American general manager of an NBA team. Fitting for a trailblazer himself, right? The team was the Portland Trailblazers, of course.
Hi everyone, Regina On here at KREM in Spokane, Washington. One thing I love about my Korean culture is the creative arts, especially the music. If you know, you know.